We're living longer these days, which is a good thing. But with added longevity, we may be working longer by choice or by necessity. So what does it take to be employed for life? I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part. Stay tuned and find out about this pertinent topic.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Dr. Tracy Wilen is a thought leader, global speaker, media contributor, and the author of 11 books. Her latest book, Employed for Life, is a 360-degree look at employment and careers in the 21st century. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Grace.
It's so good to see you again.
Oh, thank you for having me again.
What do leading HR executives have to say on the subject of modern-day talent management?
You know, Grace, talent management continues to evolve. For example, when I started work, the loyal employee was the way to go. But today, it's really all about the entrepreneurial employee, the person who can look at their job like a CEO. What can I add value? Also, the A player definition has changed somewhat to the T person. It's a big word, transdisciplinarity, but what it really means is that it's no longer just breadth or depth, it's actually both. We can't just be a generalist or a specialist in our jobs, and we actually have to be more technical. So I think as work evolves, we need to realize that talent management is also evolving.
And how does globalization impact work and employees?
You know, globalization is very interesting. When I started work, globalization meant exporting from one country to another. But today, if you look at like a platform like eBay, you can actually open up an international business in an hour and take international currency. So every business has the ability to be global. But at the same time, it also flattens labor. Because if you think about it, I can go out to Elance, which I do, which is a marketplace online, where I can find talent to edit videos, write for me, edit for me, copyright, ghostwrite even, or do a number of tasks at a very low cost. And some people will just bid on projects for $2 an hour. So globalization can be as far-reaching as expanding the pie, but also creating more competitiveness as individuals to be employed.
Do people really work at $2 an hour?
Well, you have to remember the economy is different, right? The cost of living varies worldwide. So you might find a great writer in Philippines who has a much lower cost of living than here. And a $2 or $3 an hour is a good rate. Where in the United States, you might find even city to city, our cost of living does vary. So yeah, you absolutely can find people at different cost variables.
So you're drawing employees from all over the world.
I do. In my personal business, I do look to see where the talent pools are, and where, if I do need some video work done, where are the experts? If I need analysis or statistics done, where are the experts? And writing, where are the experts? And you can find, actually, countries have patterns, and you can find people globally who do great work.
You've implied with globalization comes diversity. How has increased diversity added to the complexity of the workplace?
You know, Grace, when I started work, everybody entered the workforce at the same age, and everybody seemed to exit at the same age. Now you look at a workforce today, and there's 3 generations, and actually McDonald's was telling me they have 4 generations in their workplace.
Is that right?
That's very diverse, because they can get workers' permits and come in at 14 and a half. And then there's people in their 70s and 80s who want to continue to be employed and actually find jobs there as well. So if you think about the technology differences in those 4 generations, some have no technology background and some have a lot. There's different levels of experience. There's different levels of education. So diversity is, on multiple levels. It's not just about male, female, or, ethnic background. It's actually age is entered into as a factor.
So it's more challenging these days for employers and HR professionals.
Well, absolutely. The big concern is how do we train? How do we normalize, right, all of these different levels? And how do they get along, right? You know, can we build teams where the baby boomers and the millennials and Generation X can integrate and play together, so to speak, and work well together? So it creates a lot of challenges in the workplace.
Since we are living longer these days, how has our extended longevity reshaped the concept of retirement and the possibility of multiple careers in a lifetime, not just one career?
Oh, absolutely. You know, you probably hear all the taglines now in the press of saying 50 is the new 30 and 80 is the new 60.
Right.
Well, when I actually interviewed leaders, they said, you know, living to 100 is, you know, top of mind for people, and being able to stay employed long enough to support yourself to live to 100 is pretty important. So retirement is starting to look like, for a lot of people, being closer to 80 than closer to 62, where I think a lot of us envision retirement.
Right, so you're saying that the normal retirement age of 62 or 65 is now outdated.
I think a lot of people would say, I'm not ready to retire at 62. I'm not ready to afford to retire at 62 or 65. And I have a lot more that I want to contribute. Now, the careers may change at that point, right? As I was mentioning earlier, you know, it used to be just the corporation. But now the corporation may just be a stop in one's employment journey. In fact, before you join a corporation, you, as a younger person, you may want to try a startup before joining a corporation. Or as you become more seasoned and experienced, the corporation may not be enough for you anymore, and you might want to pursue self-employment. You may want to look at other areas of life, look at your special hobbies and developing them. So there's a lot more choices today than in the past.
But as we get older, it's harder to find new jobs, it seems. You know, a lot of people complain about age discrimination. How can we get around that?
You know, I think there's a couple of things we need to think about. One is everyone puts their hat on, say, I have to work in a corporation. And I think that has really evolved. If you're watching the show Shark Tank, which a lot of people are, you know, self-employment and entrepreneurialism is back in the United States, which is very exciting. But it's also about finding age-appropriate industries. I have a colleague of mine who actually currently works at 68 in the university systems, and her journey included consulting firms, small, large, and she's looking at her next step because she does want to work till 90.
Oh.
And she said age appropriateness, you know, so she is now taking a gerontology certification program so that when she leaves this stop, that she can move on into healthcare. She's in IT, so that she can move into healthcare. And she said, look, let's face it, who better to take care of a geezer but a geezer?
Than a geezer.
And so she said, you know, just think about age appropriateness and you know, where's your skill set and experience, and how can that translate into other sectors? Universities are great stops, not-for-profits are great stops, consulting is a great stop, and healthcare.
So do you think people are just living for the moment? Is that why they're not preparing for retirement?
You know, I think some people live for the moment. I think humanly it's very difficult to envision us getting older.
Right.
You know, I know that actually at Stanford they even had a course where they were trying to physically age people so they could adjust to seeing themselves as an older person. And so I think we keep pushing it off till tomorrow. More proactively, I think it's important, and that's what I really encourage younger people to do, is think about it's not just work, and it's not going to last forever. You're going to have to put some plans there. You're going to have to think about your health, think about your finances, think about your skills so that you can be prepared for whatever may happen in your life.
There's been some questions about technology. Is it both creating and displacing jobs? And if that's true, what are the jobs that technology is creating?
You know, I get excited about technology because I see it as really an opportunity, particularly here in Silicon Valley. You know, there were some statistics that were bantered about that for every job a Silicon Valley firm creates, there's 7 additional jobs created just by that. And if you think about it, the Google Android and the Apple iPhone, well, now we have apps. Everybody's making an app.
True.
We have digital marketing. We have digital advertising. We have mobile marketing, right? We have all of these new jobs that were just created because of these devices. So I think it's important to remember that technology really is a door opener for many of us and creates new careers that didn't exist years ago.
Those jobs that you just mentioned are all technical jobs. Do you think technology is also creating less technical jobs?
Well, yeah, because every industry, if you think about it, you need salespeople, you need accountants, you need marketing people, you need all the just traditional functional areas. But yes, I mean, the primary product is a technical product or service. And so as I encourage young people, I want them to really open their eyes to STEM and making sure that they can qualify for some of these jobs because let's face it, they're higher paying. And that's where the future is, and that's where you want your young people to be, is looking at the future.
And what are some of the jobs that technology is displacing?
So I tell people if parts of your job can be replaced by hardware or software, then you need to start to think about how you can increase your skills. So for example, the bank teller and the ATM, the ticket agent and online reservations. These are jobs that, the driver and the robotic car. Right, so pieces of jobs are being replaced by technology, which doesn't mean the whole job goes away. It just means it evolves. And so now in your job as a bank teller, you might need to expand your skills to do other types of services. And I think it's important for us to keep our eye on that so that no matter what industry we're in, we're prepared and can continue to adapt.
How has the rapid acceleration of technology changed the way we go about looking for work?
Well, looking for work has also changed. It used to be the person that you knew down the street or a family member who got you a job. But today you actually have more channels. So you can go to job boards, you can go to corporate websites to look for jobs. There's a lot of electronics, obviously. You can go to LinkedIn. You can go to specialized job boards like DICE for technology. You can go to specialized firms like Robert Half for accounting. So there's a lot more ways that we can find a job, and I think that people need to explore that it's not just family members anymore. There's much more opportunities.
What advice do recruiters have for employers seeking top talent?
Yeah, so employers are always looking for top talent, and I think that not only is it finding them, but retaining them. That's a big concern. So in your work environment, top talent or A players today really want to have the opportunity to grow, right? So if I come to this company, how am I going to grow and feel valued, have interesting work, and to continue to see progression in addition to compensation? I think there's more than just compensation. And so talent managers today in firms are looking at that saying, what kind of environment, corporate culture, giving back, all of these things are very important to A players, and I think that's important to remember that it isn't just about salary and stock options anymore.
What insights can recruiters provide to employees?
So I did a survey with a recruiting firm this past spring, and we looked at people who were finding jobs, and we said, if you could list the 4 things that were important to find a job in a tough market quickly, what would it be? And they said, look for jobs in the similar industry that you're in. So if you're in technology, it's probably not the time to jump out of technology because technology companies want to hire you for your background in technology. Also, think about staying in the same or similar functional area. So if you're in sales, you obviously can move easier into a sales job, or if you're in marketing, into a marketing job. Number 3 is networking is pretty important still.
Right.
It may not just be the friends and the family anymore, but really expand your circles. And number 4 is keep active. So if employers are looking for people, and let's say you are laid off, you can still keep active. You can volunteer. Maybe you're working at the PTA and doing accounting there. It means you're still active and doing the work. Because employers want to see not that you're looking for a job if you're laid off, they want to see that you're actually actively doing things and improving your skills and using your skills.
It's important to network still.
Yes.
Right? Because I've read that 75% to maybe even 80% of jobs are found through networking.
Absolutely. And most recruiters, hiring managers, and HR executives will tell you that jobs today are found both inside the firm and outside the firm through networking. And I'm not comfortable with networking personally. I don't like, because my vision was I had to go to big rooms with lots of business cards. And actually, a colleague of mine who is very networked said to me, no, Tracy, just network one person at a time. And that person can introduce you to a wealth of opportunities. And she was right. She introduced me to her girlfriend, who introduced me to a new job in my own company that I was in, that I would never have met her before, and it was just one-on-one. So networking is pretty important.
How has the modern resume changed?
The resume, I would say, is your billboard. It's your pop-up ad, right? It's what's going to get you in to an interview, right? So that resume should be concise, 1 to 2 pages, headlines and proof points of what you do and what you do well and success. So that someone who picks it up can say, I see a direct match with my job opening, and I want to bring that person in for an interview.
Recruiters often get hundreds of resumes for each opening, and they may only spend 10 seconds, 15 seconds on each resume. Is that right?
That's right. It's the 10-minute scan, and I'll tell you that a lot of firms today are using applicant tracking systems as well. So the resume may actually have its first stop at a machine or a scanner before it gets to a human person. So the resumes, you need to not only have eye-catching, but remember to use the words that they'll be looking for. So if they're looking for a marketing manager, make sure your title is marketing manager so that it will get picked up and screened. You also have much more sophistication actually with these applicant tracking systems that can start to analyze the way that you have your words and figure out, are you experienced or not, or did you just drop a word in a lot of times to get picked up. So they're getting quite sophisticated. But at the end of the day, employers are looking for results. So it's important to not just say a laundry list of what I accomplished, but rather I was a salesperson and I increased sales by 40% this quarter, 30% the next quarter, so that we can see that you actually are actively having results in your job.
In your research, what have you found to be the most and least effective job hunting practices?
We call it resume spamming.
Spamming.
It's spamming. It's really, you spray every job with a resume that's vanilla and generic, and you pray that you get picked. And actually, you know what? It feels really good because you feel like you're really productive sending out a lot of resumes. But at the end of the day, it's really nets you nothing. And that came up in the job survey that I did, is that was the least effective job tool. It was really saying, okay, does the resume match the job opening? Does the cover letter match the job opening? And do I match the job opening? And it would be better just to pursue 1 or 2 jobs per day rather than spraying out 100 resumes that you hope for something to happen.
Yeah, I've heard people say that they've sent out 500 resumes and didn't get much of a result.
No, I had one gentleman actually who analyzed the job opening because he really wanted it, and he analyzed it every which way for about 2 weeks. And then he redesigned his resume, not only to fit the job, but to excel the job. And he got pulled out and he was hired because he really focused on, okay, if I was in this job, what proof points can I show that I can do the job, but now how can I show that employer through my resume that I can take that job to the next level? And he was very successful with it, and it was only 1 resume. I have a girlfriend. Whenever she's looking for a job, she sends out 3 resumes. That's it. She gets 2 callbacks.
You're kidding.
Because she's very precise. She does a lot of research. She said, start focusing 90% of your time on the research for the job and 10% on the execution of applying with the resume, and you'll net more.
What you're saying is one size does not fit all as far as the resume is concerned.
Absolutely, and not every job is the same. So you have to realize that a marketing job in this company is not like a marketing job in that company. So you really have to read, and I'll tell you how to read a job opening. The top is all the gloss, right? Oh, it's exciting, and we offer all these perks. It's a great company to work for. I tell people go right down to the bottom and look for the requirements. If you can't match over 50% of the requirements, move on. Ideally, you want to find the one where you can match 80% of the requirements. And those are the ones you should focus on to apply to. because the other ones you'll just be garbage. And I'll tell you, some of these applicant tracking systems, they will hold your resume. So if they see another one coming in and another one coming in, they'll know that you're really trying to game the system there. So just do one and do it right, do it well.
What are some of the factors that are important for retention on the employer's point of view?
You know, the employees changed, and that's been quite interesting. You know, I think our younger generation has brought to our attention that life is much more integrated, and that we are in a 24/7 type of world today. So it isn't like you go to work from 9 to 5 and then you come home and have a separate life. Unfortunately, most of us are on all the time. So companies that actually take pride in their products and services and also giving back. It's very important for particularly the younger generation that companies are actually making a contribution back into society, whether it's through community outreach or services or, you know, matching dollars in some way. I think that the employees are also looking for enjoying their jobs. It isn't just, you know, getting paid anymore. It's really saying, when I get up in the morning, can I go into a job where I feel I can make a difference?
Right.
And does that employer help me or empower me so that I can feel like I'm in control of my job and not being told what to do? I think another factor is teaming. You know, in the past, it would be individual contributors, and you would be the all-star player who would catch and dive and save the business for the firm. And today, it's really more about being able to work on a team and having the team perform well. And another factor is actually branding. It isn't about making your boss look good anymore. It's that you have a strong brand. And as an employee, your brand makes the corporate brand look very good. And people want to be associated with strong branded firms, you know.
Has leadership styles changed in the 21st century?
Absolutely. And, you know, not only did I look at leadership for this book, but in women's leadership, I looked at that as well. And the whole model of leadership has changed from authoritarian to collaboration to being able to facilitate problem solving, to be able to empower people to make decisions and to participate is much more preferred today than what we may have been used to in the past.
Are HR professionals actively addressing the issues of the 21st century?
Well, some are. You know, I try to meet people who are doing some progressive things in their firms. For example, I'm really excited that many HR people are thinking about lateral moves. I remember being in a company and it was impossible to make a lateral move. That is, moving from my department, maybe in marketing, and trying a job over in sales. It was very difficult for a lot of companies to orchestrate that. And I think companies are saying employees want to do a lot of lateral skill building. There's concepts such as internal internships, you know, where you get an opportunity to work in another job maybe for 6 months and try it out. There's also concepts like the prize, where you find people from different parts of the company who can come together and maybe generate and compete on a product or service to see if you can start, you know, a new business inside the firm, and that you're rewarded by the opportunity to lead that business unit or that product that you came up with. So I think there's a lot of creative ideas out there, you know, coming down the pike. Real-time performance reviews. Why should anyone wait a year to find out how well they're doing?
Right,
I mean, it's really pretty antiquated when you think about it.
Exactly.
But absolutely, why not tell me today, did I do a good job today?
How important is company culture?
You know, it's probably one of the most important factors. If you think about wanting to retain employees, you need to create the culture. But I tell employees, when you're looking for jobs, you should be analyzing and interviewing firms just as aggressively as they're interviewing you. Because you do want to join a firm where you fit, and you want to join a firm where you fit and you stay and you really like, you know, like the environment that you work in. It really increases productivity. A lot of individuals think, you know, blindly that every company is going to be the same or that they'll adapt. And then they find later in their 30s or in their 40s, this is like not the good fit for me. I wish I had, you know, maybe spent more time thinking through the company I'd like to work for.
What do 21st century employees want from work?
They want to feel valued. They want to be paid well for doing something important. They want to feel like they have the flexibility to create, to give back, to contribute. They want to have an environment where they can get along with their coworkers, and they want to feel that they work for a firm that is respected and valued in the workforce. And I think that reputation and brand is pretty important.
And nowadays, it seems that there's more project-based work. Is that right?
Absolutely. In fact, 1 or 3 people today are actually freelancing. And so that whole new concept of portfolio careers, where as a stop in life, or maybe it's a later stop in life, I'm maybe very seasoned and have a skill set. Maybe it's web design or marketing or something. And I create a portfolio career for myself where actually people freelance me and hire me for project-based work. And I can create a whole career out of that, and people do. And I think the way to think about it is, do I have a skill or am I experienced in something? If I have experience, then maybe I can create a career around consulting projects. If I'm skilled, then maybe I can create a career around projects that require the skill.
How can we plan for a career that might last over 50 years? Do you have some practical advice you can give to us?
Absolutely. I have a framework. I tell people one sheet of paper from decades, 10, 20, 30s, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80s, 90s to 100. Look at it, right? You start to wrap your head around that you're living to 100 or plus. Number 2 is what you do in your 20s will impact what happens in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. So start to do some cross-grid, education, health, skills, work, and start to fill in the grid with ideas, concepts, hobbies that you can see in your path, and then make sub-goals to get there. It can change. Change happens all the time.
Right.
But start creating targets, because if you have a target, you're more likely to get there if you don't.
Well, Tracy, this time has flown by. You're always full of wonderful information. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Grace, as always.
I hope you found our show today informative. Thank you for being with us today, and be sure to watch our programs on YouTube. Goodbye till next week.